girlies, and welcome back to Neverending Tarot. Tarot of Dragons is our deck of the month for our Strength versus Weakness series. This is part 2, so we are covering Perfect Pairs Tarot Edition. I do have about 10 decks, I do believe. I'm going to show you. Granted, I found more decks that pair with the Tarot of Dragons. But I'm going to show you about 6 mass market and 4 indie decks. I'd like to keep it an even split, but it doesn't always work out that way. So, we're going to start with indie decks. And the first one we're going to show you is the Neverending Tarot. This is by Muse Tarot, I think, if I remember right, on Etsy. And if you've ever watched the Neverending Story, well, this is a Neverending Story themed deck. And it is a majors only. And it does pair with the Tarot of Dragons. And just as a reminder, the Tarot of Dragons, the strength is a dreams. The weakness is a life purpose. Well, the strength over here with the Neverending Tarot is love. So we have relationships we would like to aspire to. A type of lover we're dreaming about or would like to have. This is a deck that maybe might interest you if that is an area you would like to cover. And I do apologize for going fairly fast, but I have to show you 10 decks, so I'm trying not to keep you here all day. The next deck I'm going to show you is the Out of Hand Tarot by Jamie Sawyer. This is a very well-known indie deck with a modern theme. It is actually a career deck. So if you have aspirations and you're wondering about, will I get the money to work, or do I need the money in order to do this? You have questions along those lines. These two together might be able to answer your question. So even though, as you notice, there's a bit of a color difference, there's aesthetic differences, I would also like to note, for those of you that are not familiar with my series, this is all based on the energy of the decks and not the aesthetic, for when I say they pair or don't pair. The next deck we're going to cover, some of you might recognize the backings from either my channel or just in general. This is the Baroque Tarot by Lomuchi Design. So this deck is actually from a Slovenia creator. And as you can see, the aesthetics, as I just said, are not how we pair these. They are very different in these two decks. I mean, that's like night and day. Bright and colorful, and then you have what looks like a uncleaned Renaissance painting. So, yeah, they're quite different. Lomuchi Design is a shadow work deck. So if it comes to your dreams and you know you've got issues with that, you got things holding you back, you got things blocking you, and you need to find a way through, and perhaps the Tarot of Dragons is not being forthcoming or very exact on that, the Baroque Tarot is one of those shadow work decks that actually pairs with the Tarot of Dragons, that you might be able to get the answer you are seeking. Alright, I have one more indie deck to show you. And you'll have to excuse me. I know AI is a bit of a touchy subject, but this is a AI deck. This is the Weird World Tarot. And with this deck, believe it or not, the strengths and weaknesses of both decks play off of each other. So if you're not shying away from AI decks, if they spark your interest, then maybe this is one of those for you. So don't be afraid to check it out if you find extra copies. I know the Kickstarter is no longer running, but if you like what you see, you want to go after it, fine. If you hate AI decks, then disregard this one, please. It is not a must. It is just one that I happen to have in my possession that I know pairs. So I am showing it to you. Now we're going to switch over to mass market. And the first one I'm going to show you is one that you probably recognize from part 1 of this series. This is the Game of Thrones Tarot. Now, the weakness of the Tarot of Dragons over here is life purpose. But one of the decks that make up for that is the Game of Thrones Tarot, and these do pair. So, if your dreams are somehow falling into the life purpose category and things are unclear, you can literally grab the Game of Thrones and cover that weak spot up, because these decks do get along with each other. Once again, it's not about the aesthetics, it's not about the looks, it's about the energy of the decks, and these two will work just fine next to each other. They will communicate, but it fills that gap that the Tarot of Dragons has as a weakness. So if you have a feeling what you're dreaming, what you're aspiring to might be your calling in life, this might be the pairing for you to try and utilize and make sure you get the most information that's beneficial to you. Alright, and we're going to keep on moving on. And the next one is one of the newer decks in my collection. You can probably recognize the backings. This is the Crow Tarot. This is MJ's deck, and this is a very new to my collection. I literally got it like 2 days ago. But I actually like this pairing. And right after I got this deck, within hours, my ancestors called for it. I did like 3 readings, 3 daily tarot readings in like an hour, and it was blatantly obvious what the strength of this deck was. And at first I was all like, oh, I'm not sure the art style is for me, and this was on my wish list because my ancestors told me to purchase this. But after getting it, I understand why I needed this deck. It was readily apparent. And when you combine that with the Tarot of Dragons, this will help you go after your dreams in a very healthy way. And that's fantastic, to make sure that you're not being reckless, to make sure you're not burning yourself out, to make sure that you're taking care of you in all things as you try to accomplish things, that you approach it in a nice, healthy, appropriate manner. And that's what these two decks do. You know, birds of a feather, I guess, if that is okay to say. And we're going to move right along. And we're going to go to spirituality. This is the Unfolding Path Tarot. And I do own the indie and the mass market version both. This is the mass market, and I put it in the mass market pile versus the indie pile. I could have put it in the indie pile to make it an even split. But since we now have this in mass market, I'm going to utilize it as a mass market because it is cheaper than the indie version and easier to get a hold of. So, but if you have dreams when it comes to your spirituality, your spiritual purpose, your spiritual path, or things you would like to maybe learn, acquire, acknowledge, etc., this might be the pairing for you. I really don't have a lot of issues with the Tarot of Dragons when it comes to pairing it with spirituality decks. That seems, I mean, every spirituality deck I have pairs pretty much with the Tarot of Dragons. I'm just showing you the Unfolding Path Tarot because it's a newer, now mass market copy, and this has more mother energy, so it's a little bit gentler and not as harsh as some other decks can be. And it's a little bit more diverse as well. There's more body appropriation, ethnicity, and gender notification in this deck. So that's why I chose the Unfolding Path Tarot versus other spirituality decks that maybe I could have used as a placeholder. That's a nice thing to have information from. Okay, and speaking of newer decks, here's another one I just acquired. This is the Tarot for the Great Outdoors. Okay, this is a very interesting deck, and this reminds me so much of childhood, summer, and camping, just being out in nature, and that's basically it. This is an earth element deck. This is earth energy. This has fire energy. This is a summer deck. It is wands. It is literally my fire element deck. But I've discovered this about the Tarot of Dragons. The Tarot of Dragons likes earth element decks. So here's one. that maybe you have your eye on or already own or seeking to acquire, that has the naturey, outdoors, earth energy. If you want to have that grounded career earthy element with the dreams that's usually highlighted with the Tarot of Dragons, this might be the combo for you for a newer deck. And we're going to keep moving right along because I do have 2 more decks, believe it or not, to show you. Okay. This is a mass market deck you'll probably recognize from the backings. This is the Muse Tarot by Chris Ann. And of course, and as you can see, this is one of those that has a landscape card. The kings are landscape. Whether that is a turn off or a turn on, this is aesthetically different. I mean, both are considered very vibrant in color. They have a lot of color. But this has more collage-y art type style to it. However, the Muse Tarot, I think, is aptly named. It's very artistic, it's very creative, it's very inspirational a lot of the times. And that's great when you're discussing dreams or the things that you would like to aspire to. Having a muse, something to inspire itself, is fantastic. I actually want to utilize this pair myself more. I've literally asked my ancestors if we could use these 2 more. And I love the fact that we just have Justice in the Wheel of Fortune right here. But yeah, I totally see a very significant vibe between these 2 decks, and I love it. And because of that, I had to make sure I shared this one with you. Alright, I have one last deck to show you that pairs, and that is the Crystal Visions Tarot. Alright, both of these are summer decks. Now, we have dragons over here, and Crystal Visions actually has fae energy. So we have fairies, we have dragons and fairies, mystical creatures. And these decks both get along. As much as dragons have their own magic, fairies have their own magic. And despite these being 2 different types of creatures together, they don't fight. They actually get along really well. And they're both summer season decks for the most part. And I kind of like this pairing. This is another one that I am interested in utilizing a bit more. So for those that maybe not so big on dragons, but you're big on fae energy, this is a deck that maybe you either have or would like to acquire to work with the Tarot of Dragons. Go ahead and check it out. Alright, my lovelies, that is 10 decks. We went through them fairly quickly. I tried to give you a variety of decks to show you, utilize different, cover different areas. I do have more decks that pair. I will list them in the description box down below. I will also list part 1 if you missed it in the description box down below. And by all means, I will be posting the Oracle Perfect Pair video for the Tarot of Dragons tomorrow. I will keep on releasing these consecutively, so be on the lookout for those as well. And if you like this video, if you found it informative, go ahead and give me a big thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe to the channel because this is some of the things that I do here, and we'll keep on doing it every month like clockwork. I also have a poll out for November's Deck of the Month for the Strength versus Weakness series. Right now, the 4 options I have for the next month's video, they're all neck and neck. So by all means, if you want a say in what becomes the next deck of the month, by all means go to my community tab and cast your vote for whichever one piques your interest. Alright, my lovelies, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.